share my screen. And go to here. So this is our agenda. Very quickly, I'll mention the name, the people that are on our executive this year, if you're not familiar with them. My name is Bruce Robin. I'm the president currently. Our vice president is Acacia McClay. Treasurer is Aaron Burke. You will be hearing lots from Aaron tonight because really what this meeting is mostly about is presenting the financial statements from last year. Our secretary is PJ Harder, who is hard at work in the background making minutes. Shout out at this point in time to some of the members of the sort of the greater executive committee. So that includes Tina, of course, our executive assistant. It includes Tick, our webmaster. Something going on there, by the way. Tick is hard at work completely redesigning the Westwinds website. So we're going to have a new website soon. And that's kind of exciting. And he's doing some very cool things with it. In addition, Megan Reese is our promotions coordinator, promotions in social media. And who am I missing? Our volunteer coordinator, Kim Emons. So by way of a bit of an introduction, I did want to spend a couple of minutes here talking about what has been going on with Westwinds and COVID-19. We received an email just today from the Parks and Recreation Department saying that even if we wanted to have open rehearsals in January, which we are not, no school rentals will be available to us until at least August of 2021. So we've been in meetings with some members of the medical community who happen to also be members of Westwinds. And not that, not to take any power away from the Parks and Recreation, Lord, we wouldn't want to do that. But they have strongly recommended that we continue with a strictly online. And if you're watching the news and seeing the way that some of these indoor meetings and things are turning into super spreader events, that's clearly the right move for us. Our directors have been putting together some amazing online material, and that's continuing. There'll be a second session of it coming up shortly. And so kudos to them because they're working real hard and under Jane's leadership and doing some pretty cool stuff in terms of online learning. So if you haven't looked at that to take advantage of some of those, I would urge you check the website out or check the emails which come out periodically from the office and have a look at what's out there. There's going to be some things coming up that are pretty exciting, including master classes and some of that sort of thing. Now I'm going to also share this. If you haven't seen these are the meetings from last year's annual general, or the minutes from last year's annual general meeting, which was held at Lord Beaverbrook. Fairly straightforward. I will very slowly scroll through them. If you have a chance to you can just skim them as I do. And at the end of me presenting these, I will ask for a motion to go ahead or actually I'll put forward a motion to go ahead and adopt these minutes as submitted. So you can see that there's some notes here about Jane's report from last year. Just about there. And that is the minutes from last year. Does anybody need to see any pieces of those? If you do, just unmute very quickly and mention that. I will assume crickets means that everybody has seen them. I will move that they be adopted as submitted. Can I get a seconder from the floor?
I'll second that, Bruce.
Who was that, please?
Tom.
Tom, thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
So seconded by Tom Roberts. And what I will do is, if there is anybody opposing, please put that information in the chat. That's the easiest way for us to do this in the midst of a Zoom meeting. So, and we will, and Tina will check the chat for us. I'm going to, at this point, stop sharing. I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm going to say that that motion was carried. And with that, I am going to introduce our treasurer, Aaron Burke, and Aaron is going to present the financial statements and ask for an adoption of those. So Aaron, up to you.
Sorry, Tina, I know I got the financial statements kind of late, so I got them to you. Like, I don't know if you had a chance to send them out.
Only one person asked, and she's actually not here. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let me see about sharing my screen. So hopefully everyone can see financial statements.
Got him, Aaron, thanks.
Okay. So the main things really from last year is this first page is a brief overview of this balance sheet, which contains our cash position, which is already as of the end of last year, and our assets and some outstanding liabilities. More important information is really in our statement of operations. We did last year have a bit of a surplus. It is lower than previous years, as you can see, mainly due to the impact that COVID had and us ending our operations early. We did provide a refund to our members, though there were quite a few generous members who chose to donate the portion of their membership fees. So that is why donations are up quite a bit, and is a part of why we did have a bit of a surplus last year. We were able to then pass those generous donations on to continue to support like our conductors and our artistic staff who do a lot of work for us. Apart from again, some revenues and expenses being lower due to COVID, things were pretty normal for an average year. So if anyone has any
Sorry,
questions.
Aaron, can you enlarge these? Just either, yeah, I think that's better.
Slowly go down there. Full of the statement of operations.
Hi, John Pearson here. I just had a question about how you broke down general revenue versus donations. Was that, I mean, in a normal year, general revenue would be all the fees, and then you just split it up into kind of prorated it, or how did that work?
So general revenue is our program registrations and our membership fees. So when we issued the refunds, those who chose to donate, the portion of the registration fees that we would have refunded, we moved that, we reallocated it down to donations.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I will move to accept these financial statements.
Yeah, I'll second that. John Pearson.
And if anyone wants to post, just mention it in the chat. Yeah, I can comment on some of the budget assumptions for FY 21. So we have, it's a bit of work in progress. Let me share my screen again. It is included in our financial statements. Lori does a bit of a projection based on our assumptions currently. So for this coming year, we made some assumptions with the online courses that we will be offering. No assumptions were made with regards to any in-person rehearsals since we weren't confident that would go forward. So projections for general revenue are really based on expectations that we hope to hit at least minimum participants for online courses. The casino revenue is revenue that was previously deferred from our last revenue that we'll recognize this year. We have confirmation from CATA that our application for the CATA grant has been accepted. So we've assumed a similar amount as last year. The final amount we'll be able to verify once we receive it, but it shouldn't be less unless they encounter any of their own funding issues. We also received confirmation of a very generous donation from a past member's estate. So that has been counted into our budget for this next year. And as for the expenses, again, it's mainly based off of assumptions to continue to participate in our online courses, based on kind of what we've had planned for the fall and what we hope to continue doing in the new years. That answered. Or if there's any others on it.
So are we running a deficit or a surplus next year?
So next year we expect to run a small deficit. Or no, sorry, a small surplus. It should be very close to breaking even, is the expectation.
Aaron, can I make a quick comment here?
Yes.
So it's important for us, for all of us to note when we're talking about the budget for this coming year, two things. One, Aaron mentioned the fact that we were included in a longtime member's will, and we would have been in some serious trouble if that had not happened, which is great. I mean, not great that we would have been in trouble, but great that she thought of us and included us in her estate. The two biggest things year on year, that the two biggest expense items that we have are equipment rental, or I mean, sorry, not equipment rental, facility rental, and conductors and accompanists. And obviously this year, nobody's renting us anything. So that's important to note. The other thing that I did want to do is to make a shout out to our conductors and accompanists, because they're working at a reduced hourly rate and doing these online programs at a reduced rate. That's extremely generous, and it's really helped us to be able, or helped Aaron to be able to balance the budget for 2021. We don't know what we're going to look like in the fall of 21 yet, obviously, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. In the meantime, we're okay financially. We're we're not flush, but we're healthy. My 2 cents worth, 1 cent after tax. Okay, so next on the agenda, I'm going to say that because we had Susan's question in the chat, but we didn't have a whole load of dissenting votes or anything. So we're going to say that the motion to adopt the financial statements as submitted is carried, and we'll move on with our agenda, which is the next item on that agenda is our artistic director's report. So I know that Jane McLaughlin is out there somewhere. There she is.
Right here. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Bruce. Thanks to everyone who's attending tonight. As Bruce mentioned, my name is Jane McLaughlin, and I'm honored to be serving all of you in my second year as the artistic director for Westwinds. And what a year it is. 2020 is going to go down as a year we wish we could have forgotten, I think. But having said that, we've discovered some really wonderful things in the process. Certainly each and every one of us would much rather be in regular rehearsals, singing and playing our instruments, enjoying our time just being with each other and catching up with our friends, getting to know new people. But we have this wonderful opportunity that we might not have had otherwise, our online courses. What began as a bit of an experiment last spring has turned into an amazing collection of online musical offerings. So we are able to provide for you opportunities to learn about so many different aspects of music that we just can't provide in a regular 2-hour rehearsal each week. And there's been many comments to that end from people who are participating. So it's great that it's not just me that thinks that, but that people who are involved in our courses are thinking that as well. So from music theory to sight singing, jazz improv, instrumental techniques, a new ensemble called Blue Jazz, our bronze concert band, and 2 choirs who are working with their ensembles in an online format, and much more. This term, and we had 216 people who were registered for these various courses we were running in term 1. So obviously many people, not many, about 40 people took more than one course. Because there were 175 memberships that were purchased. So that's pretty awesome considering we can't do anything in person. Okay, so this term, as was mentioned, we're really, really excited to offer the master classes for instrumental and vocal specific. They are instrumental and vocal specific courses. They're kind of somewhere between a private lesson and what many of us know as sectionals. And they're designed for every level of player. So if the course description is not sort of answering your questions as you read through it, and you want to know more about master classes, you can, if you're in any online courses right now, ask your online instructor, because they can certainly tell you more. Or you can email Tina or myself and we'll give you some more answers. But if these master classes are not for you, there's still a wide variety of courses available. So I encourage you to have a look. All of the reviews I've heard so far have been extremely positive. Some are even hopeful that when we return to playing, that we will continue offering some online courses to help enrich the rehearsal experience. So I'm proud to say that without a doubt, other community music organizations are looking to us for guidance. That's becoming quite clear to me now. And in many cases are following our lead. There are many now who have heard of our online courses and are encouraging their members to join us. So because we can offer something that they can't right now. Some of them are small rural community ensembles, and their one director is just overwhelmed with trying to put on, offerings that meet the requirements of their members. And so they are relieved to hear that we're offering something and opening it to people beyond our membership. So that's really awesome. We, the directors, are incredibly thankful for our board of directors who have been fully supporting our vision, and also to those who've taken the time and have the wisdom and knowledge to advise us as we move through these crazy times. So I think it was also mentioned that our courses for term 2 are open for registration. Please consider signing up and telling all your music friends, because they don't have to be Westwinds members, although they'll pay a membership fee this time, but they don't have to have been Westwinds members before to join us in these courses. As always, we are here to serve the needs of our members to the best of our ability. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or ideas, please let us know. You can email Tina at the office, myself at artistic.director@westwindsmusic.org, or Bruce at president@westwindsmusic.org, and we'd be most happy to hear from you. So stay strong, be safe, and sign up for some courses. I'm done.
Thank you, Jane. So let me just double check our agenda here. I think we're moving through at a rapid pace, but I'll just go ahead and do this and that. Oh yeah, so wrap up and adjournment. So as Jane mentioned, this has been, well, what's the Chinese curse? It's a blessing and a curse. It's may you live in interesting times. Well, these are interesting times, no question. We have had our challenges, and we've had some very interesting, very positive things that have, as Jane mentioned, that have popped out as a result of the things that have happened to us with COVID-19. Clearly, from watching the news and seeing what's going on, we're in this thing for the long haul, unfortunately. It's going to be a while. Completely beside the fact that the Parks and Recreation won't rent us any schools, which is a huge part of our rehearsal facilities. But setting that to one side for the moment, the board is acting conservatively. We are trying our very best to think about the fact that the average age in Westwinds is about 55 years old. And that means that we need to be very careful. We need to tread extremely lightly. And in spite of the fact that we are now seeing some of the school programs now back into open rehearsals with everybody sitting scattered about the band room, widely separated and so on and so forth, we still have to think on our own. And the message that we're getting as a board is that it's just plain and simply not safe for us. I don't know if anybody saw the news tonight, but there were 3 different indoor social functions over the weekend, which have created a total of which all 3 turned into what they refer to as a super spreader event, like an office party with 29 people where 9 of them are now infected. These sorts of things are happening in our city. This is not, we're talking about New York.
Sorry, Bruce, you're frozen if you can hear us.
What was that, Tina?
Sorry, you were frozen there for a while, I think. You're
Oh.
okay. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah, you're good now. Your internet looks spotty, but you're okay now.
Oh, okay. Anyway, what I was going to say is that that as a board, we will continue to try and act in the absolute best interests of our membership, and kind of navigate these waters. The board members are just like you. We're no different than you. We would love at this point to be going to rehearsals and playing our instruments or singing or doing the things that we love to do musically. But obviously that's not going to happen, and we're in it for the long haul. So with that in mind, I will offer up if nobody has any questions, we'll open it up for questions. If you have questions, please unmute yourself and just let us know who you're addressing your question to.
There's
Hi, it's
actually
Kevin.
there's a question in the chat box too, Bruce.
Oh,
Okay.
do that first.
Actually, two questions. And can I ask whoever is iPad, can you put your name on the screen? Because we need to write down the name for the minutes. There's someone who's just identified as iPad. Unless that is your real, iPhone, sorry, iPhone.
Sherry, is there a list of people that could provide private lessons for members? Yes and no. Absolutely, that, you know, there are the best thing would be probably to consult with one of the directors, get in touch with Jane. We don't tend, there's enough people out there that we would tend not to recommend one over another. But at the same time, you know, there are some people out there. So if you're looking for private lessons, we can probably help you to find somebody that can do that for you. And I would also suggest that you check out these master classes that are coming up in the next round of online courses, because these are some of the very best people in Calgary that are going to be teaching these things. And it's going to be pretty cool.
So Bruce, I was going to do
and
that.
a lot cheaper than what you would pay for straight up private lessons.
Right. I was going to do that.
Okay.
But what I found out when I took the green band is I didn't realize that many in my class were taking private lessons till about January. And it never dawned on me. I just thought, hey, I'm going to rehearsal, I'm learning it. And then I started talking around, and I'd say over half were taking private, and I didn't know where they found their instructor.
Okay.
And, so I didn't know if Westwinds had a list or anything. I did ask Scott, and then I think after that we were kind of disbanded, so it didn't matter.
If you look in the chat, if you look in the chat, there is Tick has sent a link on our website under members resources. There actually is a link of private teachers. It's an older one, but there is one on the website under members, and I'm not too sure where it's going to go, so you have to check with Tick.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Kevin, you had a question or comment?
It's not a question. Jane just mentioned she's in her second year as artistic director. Prior to that, for 23 years, it was me. And there's a lot of history there. And the role of the artistic director is very interesting with Westwinds. It's a lot of herding cats. I know there's a bunch of directors in here, so I can now say this more freely than maybe when I was the artistic director. But the organization itself is as large as many elementary schools, and with as many directors as there are staff in many elementary schools. The difference being that every single one of our directors is used to being in charge of everything in their whole day. And this presents some challenges. And so many a week can go by as an artistic director where you're just kind of cruising along and operations are running smoothly, and then something hits the fan and you deal with it. I cannot begin to imagine the days in the lives of in the life of our artistic director last year and this year once COVID hit. And I just want to put forward that, and I think I will speak for the rest of the directors, that Jane has done an unbelievable job. And huge kudos to her. And I think that should be on the record.
Thank you. And I would, you know what? I would echo that from the point of view of the board. I think Jane has stepped up in the midst of all of this and really kind of taken a leadership position especially as it relates to our program and our musical offerings and our online offerings. And so, yeah, thank you, Jane. Kudos to you.
Well, gee, thank you. It kind of brings a tear to the eye, to be honest. So thanks both of you. Thanks everybody, actually. So much. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing half the time, but somehow things are getting done. So I guess it's working. What I was very remiss in not saying in my report, and I really need to make up for that now also, is I cannot tell you, and I do tell them from time to time, but I cannot tell you how unbelievably impressed I am with what our directors are doing in terms of the online courses. And you would think, well, they just know this stuff, you know, it should be easy for them. Even myself teaching like basically beginning theory, I'm spending hours preparing for it. And it's something I've done before. I know that our directors are spending an inordinate amount of time preparing online courses. They are harder to teach than standing in front of a band or a choir and doing a rehearsal. So I just want to send huge kudos to them and a huge thanks at the incredible quality of courses that are being offered and knowing and letting you know how much work is going into it. So thank you to them.
Yes, thank you for that as well. Yeah. So I am going to now, let me see now, I think I don't see anything else in the way of questions in the chat. So if there is nothing more, I'm going to move that we adjourn, and I'll look for a seconder for that motion. I'll look for a seconder for that motion.
I'll second it, Bruce, if you need somebody. Tom. I've seen your lovely face long enough, buddy.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I know. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah.
I had a comment there, but I'll keep it to myself. Good. If no one is opposed to that, if anyone is opposed to that, then I would ask you to make that known in the chat. Otherwise, and I'll wait for a second or two for that to happen. Cool. Nothing new. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate your being here and your commitment to Westwinds and your involvement with our organization. Again, we will do our best to act in your best interests in the months to come. Good night for now.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Thank you. Thanks,
You're
everybody.
There's a couple of notes in the box here too. I don't know if I still don't know who iPhone was. They didn't identify themselves, so we had more than quorum, but.
Okay.
No, I tried to get a bit of a list as well. So Tina, if you could send me the list of people you've got, and I'll just make sure that I've got them all in there.
Well, there was 39 and 40 and 39 and 40. So I think someone's internet was maybe spotty. But the iPhone person, I don't know. I sent them a private message too, and they didn't respond. So I think it's okay. I mean, I can't do anything. So. All right.
Yeah, I have 37.
Yeah, there was 40 at once because I could see the number at the bottom of the thing.
Yeah. I just checked every once in a while, but of course I couldn't. Off the top of your head, do you know what Tammy's last name is?
Yearwood.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, like Trisha.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And the person who asked the question about the surplus or deficit, that's Bentley Rolfe. He put Stan Getz, but I don't know if you need to know their name for the question.
Oh yeah, I saw that when I peeked, and so I did add him, and I'll put his name in the
T-L-Y, Rolfe, R-O-L-F.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
And you can eat more now.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Bruce. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bye.
Hey, Tina,
Yes.
could you just send me the link to the Bronze Concert Band Zoom?
Sure.
I think it's somewhere, but I'm guessing